This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by action is way more important than words and ideology. The means are way more important than the ends. And for that reason, I have been broadcasting for over a year and have never gotten around to telling any of you exactly what my ideology is. It's a very low priority item, but it may be of some interest, and at the moment there's not a lot of news to report, so I will tell you this. Some of you think I'm a libertarian, some of you think I'm an anarchist, some of you think I'm a minarchist, some of you think I'm a voluntarist. Well, I'm really basically none of the above. I am an ideology unto myself. I believe in something that there's no name for it. The best name I could come up with, and I came up with it just today because it's not that important, is modified voluntarist. I am, or I think I am, a modified voluntarist. And here's how I define that. To me, it means you support, or maybe I should say you are okay with the continued existence of most government institutions. But you believe they must be funded voluntarily. Or that they should be funded voluntarily or not at all. So, City of Keene could continue to exist as an institution, City of Manchester, State of New Hampshire government, federal government, no problem there. I'm not objecting to the existence of those things. I'm only objecting to the funding mechanism. Now, the reason I'm a modified voluntarist instead of a voluntarist is that I do not know, voluntarists could be considered the same as anarchists, basically believing there should be no government as we know it now. I do not believe that is sustainable. I think it's a worthy ideal, but I don't see how it can be maintained. To me, when I look at voluntarism or anarchism, free marketeer type thing, I think, all right, that's like a hot air balloon with no air in it. When you've got a hot air balloon, you don't fill it with vacuum because the air outside will crush the balloon. You fill the hot air balloon with helium or hot air or hydrogen, something that's lighter than air but will hold the balloon open. That enables it to rise without being crushed. Well, in the same way, we libertarians have to have something inside the hot air balloon of government, and we can't fill it up with a vacuum. Nature hates a vacuum, and the existence of an anarchic sphere, a sort of hot air balloon with nothing in it, invites the crushing pressure of the outside air. And in this case, the allegory would be like if you look at Somalia. Well, anarchy has not in and of itself been a bad thing for Somalia, but the fact that when you've got anarchy, it triggers all these attempts to form a government. And these attempts in Somalia have been very bloody and repeated. And as long as Somalia has an anarchic state, people will be continually trying to form a government, take over the country. Even if they don't succeed in doing that, they will succeed in killing a lot of people. So I don't see anarchy being sustainable. I like the idea of a placeholder government. The closest thing I can think of to being that would be the early colonial government that existed right after the Revolution, the Articles of Confederation. We were, I don't know what we were called back then, the colonies, but that 10-year-long colonial Articles of Confederation government is the closest thing I know of. Even that turned out maybe not to be sustainable. It couldn't withstand the onslaught of the relatively benign tyrants, George Washington and Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, those guys. I don't know if tyrants is quite the right word for them, but they were definitely bigger government people than what had come before. In terms of how they felt the colonies should be administered under the Articles of Confederation. So placeholder government, as long as it were limited if it were banned from taxing, essentially, would never really have, I don't think you would have much ability to grow into the kind of grotesque governments that we see around the U.S. right now. So I think the ban on taxation, the ban on any kind of forced funding would be just the right medicine to keep the government in its proper size. I suspect that that would mean government roughly a tenth of its present size. For instance, if New Hampshire were to go to the New Hampshire government were to, say, pass a constitutional amendment banning taxation, then all the institutions would, in theory, stay there or could stay there, but the amount of actual revenue they'd be getting would probably drop by 90%. That would be my best guess. They could probably make about 10% of what they make now through donations, through investments, lotteries, forming businesses, government-run businesses, sale of government land, leasing of advertising space on government land, renting of government land. There are a lot of ways they can make money, but it would pare them down and keep them in check indefinitely. But they, in turn, would be powerful enough to keep in check the forces attempting to form some kind of brand new government by force. The kind of forces that would be out there, I think, and active if you had a complete lack of government. Do you have a message for the Ron Paul movement? Do you have a product for the New Hampshire Liberty community? Then stop keeping it a secret. Head on over to
RidleyReport.com. Email Ridley
and purchase an ad. There is no humiliation nor privation Ridley will not endure to ensure your message gets out.
RidleyReport.com